Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring something pretty important. How a U.S. green card can actually be revoked.
Yeah, it's not something people often think about as, oh, well, revocable.
Exactly. And the recent situation with Mahmoud Khalil, the Palestinian activist, detained after the Columbia protests, really throws this into sharp relief.
It does. We've looked at news reports, some legal takes, basically trying to understand the fine print of being a lawful permanent resident.
Right. What are the boundaries? Our mission today is to really unpack that, clarify what permanent actually means in this context.
And what's striking about the Khalil case, right off the bat, is that he hasn't been charged with the crime.
No crime, but facing potential deportation. That's key.
It really is. It highlights what immigration lawyer Linda DeCangrum points out. A green card isn't an absolute right. It's more like a conditional privilege.
Conditional on following the rules, basically.
Precisely. Its continuation really hinges on adhering to specific U.S. laws and regulations.
Okay, so what are the main rules then? What gets people into trouble?
Well, according to DeCangrum, the most common trigger is criminal convictions.
Right, like serious stuff.
Yeah, things classified as aggravated felonies, drug offenses, also fraud. Those are big ones.
But it's not just crime, is it? National security seems to be a major factor, too.
Absolutely. National security concerns are critical. This could mean suspected ties to terrorist groups or even just being broadly deemed a threat to national security.
And that seems relevant in Khalil's case. I saw Secretary Rubio mentioned it wasn't about free speech.
Exactly. Officials are citing the Secretary of State's authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act,
Which allows them to
deem a non-citizen deportable if their activities could significantly harm U.S. foreign policy interests. Khalil's notice to appear apparently cites this specific determination.
Wow. Okay, so if the government thinks someone violated a rule, how does this whole revocation process actually start?
Usually it's the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, that kicks it off. They might flag something during routine checks or maybe get information from law enforcement, even whistleblowers.
And then what happens to the green card holder?
Typically they'll receive something called a notice to appear. That's the formal document telling them they need to go to immigration court for deportation proceedings.
Ah, the notice to appear.
Yeah. Though in more serious cases, like with Khalil it seems, detention can happen right away.
Now, immigration court, that's different from criminal court, right?
Yeah.
What are the key distinctions for someone in this situation?
Big difference. In immigration court, the government has the burden of proof. They have to show that an immigration law was actually violated.
So for Khalil, IC lawyers need to prove he's a national security threat.
Correct. And while the green card holder gets to present their defense, there's no guarantee of a government-provided lawyer if they can't afford one. That's a major difference from criminal court.
That's huge. No guaranteed counsel.
It can make a massive difference.
Let's circle back to the Secretary of State's authority deeming someone deportable based on foreign policy impact. Where does that power actually come from?
It's rooted in the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. It's been on the books for a while.
And Rubio's comment about a green card being a privilege, not a right, that really underscores this, doesn't it? Even actions after you legally enter can matter.
Absolutely. It challenges that common idea that permanent resident means, well, truly permanent and untouchable. There's this tension, between settling down, building a life, and the underlying conditionality of that status for non-citizens.
Okay, so let's say the immigration judge does rule against the green card holder. Is that the end of the road?
No, not necessarily. There's an appeals process. First, they can appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals, the BIA.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, they can potentially take it to a federal court of appeals.
And then, theoretically, the Supreme Court?
Theoretically, yes. It's very rare for immigration cases to get there as the Supreme Court chooses which cases it hears, but the path exists.
But it sounds like a long, tough process.
Definitely. It can be incredibly lengthy and very expensive, especially without guaranteed legal aid.
Right. So let's kind of bring it all together. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, first, losing a green card isn't just about serious crime. National security flags, actions seen as harming foreign policy, these can also trigger revocation.
And this all plays out in immigration court, where the rules are different, the burden's on the government, but legal help isn't guaranteed.
Exactly. And there are appeal options, but it's a difficult road.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it? This difference between being a permanent resident and being a citizen.
It does.
And the fact that your status can be questioned based on things you do after you've established your life here leads to a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, what does it truly mean to be a long-term resident but not a citizen? How does this potential impermanence maybe affect how someone understands their rights, their obligations, their place in society?
It's definitely something to mull over. The idea of permanent isn't always as solid as it sounds.
A very nuanced reality for many.